Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi NIDAH Lamed Aleph. We begin 5 lines from the top, Tanu Rabbanon, back to the topic describing the development of the fetus. Tanu Rabbanon, Shloisha Chadash Marishayim. The first 3 months, the first trimester, Vlad Dar b'Madar Tachtain. The Vlad resides in the lower realm of the Isha. Emtsaim, the mid-term, he rises up. Vlad Dar b'Madar Elyon. So the middle 3 months, he goes up to the next level. Achreinim, the final 3 months, Vlad Dar b'Madar Elyon. He goes up to the third story, to the highest of the 3. Okay, so he starts on bottom and makes his way up. Now, when it comes time for birth, so there's a flip. He shifts from head being on top over to the head on bottom. This way he comes out head first. That explains the hardship of the Isha, the birth pang that she experiences because of the flipping over of the Vlad on his way out. That also explains the following statement, the Sanyo, the birth pangs of the birth of a Nekeva are more significant than by a boy. And the Gemara will explain that in a minute, because by her it's a double flip. It's a vertical flip, so the head has to come down to the bottom, and also there's a side shift as well, sort of a horizontal shift, so that she's face up. So the Zachar is face down, the Nekeva is face up. The Chazon Ish points out that we don't really have that nowadays. He says apparently the nature has changed. Nishtanu ativim. By us, there's no differentiation between the boy and the girl in the way they come out, but the time way back of the Gemara, it was so, and that explains the more significant Chevle Leida by the Nekeva, because of all the shifting that goes on. V'amar B'Elazar, Mikra. Let me show you a pasuk describing the formation, the location where the Vlad is formed initially, all the way on the bottom. Asheru Seisi Ba'Seisi Rukamti. I was formed. That's the initial formation process. Tachtias, or it's down on bottom. Darti Lo Nemar. Rather than saying darti instead of rukamti, which would indicate, living, dwelling, it says ela rukamti, referring to the initial stages of formation, which takes place in the lowest abodes. Ask the Gemara, so why is it in fact more difficult by the Nekeva's birth? Ma'ishno chevle Nekeva. Miruben, why is it more than Mishal Zachar? The answer is because she will come out face up. So it requires a double shift as opposed to the boy, which is only a single shift. So there's a gersa zuba'ah derech tashmisha, referring to the Nekeva. She emerges in the same posture as when she is mating with her husband, in which case face is up. And by him, it's face down. And therefore necessitates, as she flips her over as well, to get face up, as opposed to the Zachar. It doesn't require that additional flip, and therefore it's only a single flip from head on top to the head on bottom, so that he comes out head first. Tanu Rabbanon. The first 3 months of pregnancy, interaction with her husband is difficult because the area is tight. Difficult for the woman and for the Vlad inside. And so in the middle 3 months of pregnancy, it improves a bit. Kashal Isha, a little difficult for the Isha because of the tightness. Yafal Vlad, but the Vlad is a bit out of the way. So for him, it's actually Achroinim, the last 3 months, Yafal Isha, Yafal Vlad. It's good for the Isha and for the Vlad. In fact, not only is it not detrimental, it's actually beneficial for the unborn. Through these experiences, Nimtza Vlad Meluban Mazuras, the Zara will cleanse him. So it actually has a cleansing effect, Malubun, and his Mazura, strengthening effect on the unborn child. Tana, we learned in the Brisa. One has to take care to refrain on day 90, which is exactly third way through the pregnancy. Person interacts with his wife on day 90 of the pregnancy. Is tantamount to termination of life, because it can endanger the offspring. Menayada asked the Gemara, how's it feasible, how's it possible to calculate things so perfectly? Elam Abaye, there is really no way, and therefore we just proceed mishamish v'hoylech, and we have the well-known rule that Hashem guards the innocent v'shomer pesayim Hashem. The Parshan point out, Ramesha Feinstein points out that according to Abaye, he's disagreeing with the Brisa, since most likely you can't really pinpoint the day 90, so evidently we just sort of disregard this whole concern. Even if a person does have that confirmed, he knows exactly where he's holding, Shomer pesayim Hashem will guard him. Taner Rabbanan. Shloisha shutafin yesh ba'adam. A person is comprised of contribution by 3 partners. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who gives him the actual life, v'ava v'imoi, and the fathers and mothers' contributions. Of course, ultimately it's all from Hashem, but it's channeled by the way, right, of the mother and father. So what does each one contribute to the eventual of Lot? Aviv, the father, Mazriya Halayvin, contributes the white, that's his zera, which generate all the light-colored elements within the person. Shemimena, from which forms the atzamis, the bones, the gidim, the sinews, utzavarnayim, and the nails, the moich shabaroshay, and the brain matter in his head. The white of his eye, imoi. Mother contributes the dark part, the red and dark parts, mazras oidim. She expresses her redness, her blood, that's the part of the mother. Shemimen, from which grows the oir, ubasor, usa arois, the skin, the flesh, the hair, v'shachashabayin, and the black within the eye. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pumps the life into everything, gives it its function. Noisan by ruach, uneshama, the cluster panim, and the facial feature, v'riyasa ayin, the ability to see, shmeasa oisin, to hear, the repet, to speak, the charaglaim, to walk, ubina v'haskil, and understanding. After 120 comes time to leave the world. Hashem pulls out his part, the life force of this person, and everything else is now obsolete. The parts of mother and father, he leaves before them lifeless. Amar Papa, interesting marshal to this. This fits with the common colloquial. Milcha. So we have this heavily preserved, with salt. This piece of meat preserved with salt. Milcha. As soon as you shake out the salt, the meat is gonna spoil. V'shadi bisra l'kava. May as well throw the meat to the dog. It's only fit for a dog. Correspondingly, the goof of a person is only valued, is only special when Hashem's contribution, so to speak, is inherent, is alive, is present. How are we meant to explain the pasuk describing the magnitude of Hashem's greatness, of Hashem's abilities, kaviyachol? Hashem does great feats beyond our comprehension, and flies and wonders beyond number. But come take a close look. Make a comparison to Hashem's creation and lahavdil, human beings, feeble creations. Hashem's conduct, Hashem's doings are so much greater than those of human beings. And we see that in the formation and development of a unborn fetus. Midas basar adam. By people, if you want to store something, you have to make sure it's tied up in a bag, in a container, so it doesn't fall out and get lost. He puts his item into a chemes, a container tzrura, properly tied up and closed up, a pil, a mala, facing up, right? The opening is upwards, so that the thing doesn't slide out. Safek, and even then, you're not guaranteed. Maybe you'll stay in there, maybe not. Safek mishtamber, Safek mishtamber, Baruch Hashem. Hashem designs the uber inside the mother with three differences. First of all, psucha, it's not tied up, it's open. Opening is facing down. And still, it's safe and sound, guarded until the very end. Davar acher, another analogy. Adam neisen chavatzel l'kaf maznayim. A fellow puts his items into the basket of a scale. Right? So basically he's weighing something. The more you put into that scale, the more it sinks. Calls mashamach, but the heavier it gets, you're lamata. It sinks lower. We look at the Baruch Hu by Hashem. And he forms the vlad, we learned before. The more developed, the higher up it rises. We look at the Baruch Hu calls mashamach, but the rises up, to give it more space, give it more room. And that's an interesting, it's a wonderful thing. You have something heavier and heavier, and it just gets higher and rises higher and higher. What about a pasuk in Tehillim? Oitcha, I will express my gratitude to you, Hashem. Oitcha, alki noirois nifleisi. Nifloim ha'asechem v'nafshi yodas moed. This is again a tefillah expression, of course, a type appreciation to Hashem, relating to the formation and designing of a human being. Once again, a comparison. Boire, come take a close look and compare. Hashem's doing is so much greater than what a human can accomplish. Look, a farmer, right? A person takes his seeds to the farm. He's got the tomato seeds, he's got potatoes. Adam noisens are running by takes them out to the patch out there. So the tomato seeds will generate a tomato patch. The cucumber, right? Each one separate and distinct. Each one will develop in its own way, separate and distinct, without any correlation between the various types. If you look at the Baruch Hu by Hashem, he takes an element of the ish, element of the isha, and he fuses them, combines them, and forms this most intricate, beautiful, complicated, technologically advanced item called a human being. Hashem designs the uber in the mother, using all these components, merging them together to create this joint entity. They all develop into one human being, a different aspect of this correlation. Just the opposite. So Hashem is creating this one entity called a human being who still has separate and distinct limbs. The flesh from the woman, the bones from the man, and all working together smoothly, in unison, as a complete human being. Davar acher. Saba. So this paint maker, noisen saman liyar. He throws in the ingredients, paint ingredients, into the vat. So despite the numerous ingredients present, it all sort of fuses into one single mishmash, into one product, where the separate ingredients are no longer distinct and discernible, right? They all end up in one color. Baruch Hu, by Hashem, despite the fact that he's creating this single entity, it still maintains within it all those unique and distinct elements, each one with its own distinct character. Every single element within that develops on its own, creating all the various elements and limbs that comprise a human being. Darash Rav Yosef, we have another pasuk which has a similar expression. Oitcha Hashem, ki'unaftabi. Hashem, I will express gratitude to you for expressing anger with me, which is a surprising statement. Why would you do that? Yoshev Abchon Usnachameni. When your anger subsides, you will console me. Meaning, I will finally discover the meaning, the value, the positive effect of you punishing me, chas v'shalom. So let's have an example of what the pasuk is referring to, that a person only appreciates later the hardship that he had before. You have two people embarking on a business trip to China, right? One fellow got a flat tire on the way to the airport. He missed the plane. Many stories like that, right? One fellow lands with a thorn in his foot, and he can't walk. He's stuck. He can't make it to the port to catch his ship on time. He's so upset, he starts cursing, expressing anger, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise. A while later, so his friend made it. He's all envious of him, and it turns out that ship sunk. So now he has an abrupt change of perspective and of attitude. Now he expresses thanks to Hashem. Hischel moidem shabeach. That's what the pasuk means. Yoshev Abcha, when the anger subsides, when I start, smoke clears, and I see things the way what it really is, I realize it's a consolation. It's really for my good. Corresponding to Rabbi Elazar's statement, what does the pasuk mean? Hashem conducts, niflois levadei on his own. What does that mean, levadei? Doesn't he do it with us? Yeah, but you haven't realized. Many times the individual who had himself experienced that miracle, unbeknownst to him, he has no clue that it happened to him. And that's what the pasuk means. At times Hashem does wonderful things with us without us even realizing, now or ever. Darish Rabbi Chanina Barpa. We have another pasuk in Tehillim Kuf Lametes, a beautiful parak, by the way. One of the most beautiful, I think Evan Ezra says, was the most beautiful prakim in Tehillim, describing the making of a human being and just the whole process and the wonderment of it all. So it's a direct conversation with Hashem. My ways, v'rivi. Rashi says these are relating to the interaction between the Isha and the Isha. The Oirach, the Revia, right? So Risa. Risa means you've chosen, you've winnowed, you've picked out the best. Use that to create me. We learn from here. A human is not created from the entire droplet of Zerah. Rather from the purest part. Tana de Bishmoel. Marshal to a farmer winnowing his grain out in the granary. So he tosses up a whole, hole full of material, but the chaff gets blown away, and he extracts the best part. Takes the food part and leaves the chaff. He had a contradiction. The Melch speaks about Hashem giving him, right, Tazreini without an aleph and Me'azreini with an aleph. So which way is it? Omar David. Hashem was addressed by David. Omar David l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rebbeinu Shalom. Zeiri Sani. You've winnowed me, right? That's the first pasuk without the aleph, like Zoyre. You've chosen, you've picked the best. V'zeiras Tani. That's the second pasuk with the aleph. Ha'ma'azreini, you've strengthened me, you've given me strength and power by choosing the best and most perfect to make me. Dara Rabbi Yavo. Ma'idachsiv. We have a pasuk by Bilam. Mi mana afar Yaakov u'mispas reva b'nei Yisrael. What was that talking about? Malamed. We learn Shakadosh Baruch Hu Yoshev v'sefer es revi Yisem shel Yisrael. Rashi says Yisem is Einas Tashmishan. Hashem is awaiting the interaction in the families of Israel. What's Hashem waiting for? He's eagerly kaviyachol anticipating the arrival of the Zerah, which will form a tzaddik. Masai Tavi, when will it already come? The Tipa Shat Tzaddik, Noitzim Himena, from which the tzaddik is created. Even though this was Bilam speaking, he had an attitude. He frowned upon this phenomena that Hashem sort of is paying attention, is focusing on these matters, he couldn't comprehend it. By a guy, it's either abstinence, which is in their minds holiness, versus indulgence, which is just the opposite. By us, there's something in the middle. We take an element of other things and we elevate them. So he had no clue. By him, it was either or, and he couldn't comprehend that Hashem was involved in these matters. Because of this, his eye was blinded. He lost sight in his eye. So Farshim explained he had short-sightedness. He couldn't understand the depth of this whole concept. Okay, so he got punished. He got missing an eye. Omar, because he said, look, Mishu Tar. He was like sort of speaking disrespectfully about Hashem, who's Tar, Kadosh, Mesharsam, and his servants, his malachim. It's an environment of purity. Torah Makdoshim Miyatzitz B'Davar should be peering at these things. Miyad. So, because of this sin of relating to Hashem in this disrespectful way, Miyad Nismas Einai, he got blinded in an eye. Referring to himself as a man with just one seeing eye. Apparently, the other one was out of business. We find elsewhere, Rabbi Yechon points to a pasuk where we find that Hashem orchestrated the arrival of a tzaddik. So Yaakov Avinu, instead of going elsewhere, he veered over to Leah's tent. And the pasuk speaks about a who. Who's who? It's Hashem. Hashem orchestrated this in order to hasten, the arrival of Yisachar. Hashem had a part in this, orchestrating this event. Shenamar, as we find, Yisachar Chamar Garim. Yisachar was brought about by the Chamar. What is the Chamar? He was Garim. Chamar Garim Loi Yisachar. The Chamar, meaning the donkey of Yaakov Avinu, which veered, Hashem veered it over to Leah's tent that night. That brought about the arrival of Yisachar. Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yaakov. We had this the other day. Isha Mazras Tchila. So at times there are Zacharim born, at times Nekevos, but there is a biological process which can influence the arrival of Zachar or Nekeva. So Isha Mazras Tchila, that is Zachar. If in their interaction the Isha expresses herself hormonally first, that will generate a Zachar. Ish Mazriya Tchila, that is Nekeva. And of course it's not absolute, but the scientists actually have an explanation that somehow it manipulates the acidity level of the area, and somehow the male elements have more chance of thriving and being successful in this particular environment, as opposed to Ish Mazriya Tchila. If it's a man who's on the scene first, Yelez Nekeva, that generates a Nekeva Shenema. We have a pasuk for this. Isha Kisas Riev, she's the one contributing first. V'yalda Ezach Tanrapana. Very Shaina. So back in the day, they would say, in fact, Isha Mazras Tchila, Yelez Zachar, Ish Mazriya Tchila, Yelez Nekeva. But we haven't had a clear source. V'lepirsha Chamas Hadavar. Chacham did not provide a clear source for this phenomenon. Actually, the Maharsha points out, didn't we just have a pasuk? Isha Kisas revealed a Zohar. So he explains, he says that it's needed for another halacha. In any case, here comes another source for this phenomenon. The came along, and he pointed to a pasuk that correlates the boys in the family to the mother and the girls to the father. Ela b'nei Leah, so the sons of Leah, Asher Yalda LeYaakov, Padan Aram. So here we have the b'nei Leah, the boys relating to their mother, because she was the primary facilitator of their arrival. On the other hand, Veis Dina B'Toy. When it comes to the daughter, Dina, it's B'Toy, relates to the father, Yaakov Avinu. Tala, we have a link in the pasuk. Tala Aschorim b'Nekevos. So Nekevos are linked b'Schorim. Vayu b'nei Ulam. Ulam Anoshim Gibor Chayil Derech Keshes Marbim Bonim Milibonim Apostle Divar Yamim. These men were Gibor Chayil, men of power, who would generate sons and grandsons. Now, how could a person claim to have the ability to generate his offspring? It's all in the hands of Hashem. Or b'schar, there's a girsa. Rather, it just means that they made the efforts. They did the right thing in the eyes of Hashem to earn them boys. And by extension, grandboys, grandsons. Assuming that their sons their behavior carries over to their sons, and they behave likewise, which in turn will generate their grandsons. So what do? And they merit that they were shemash and asma bebet, and they would express immense discipline during their interaction. Babatan on the stomach, they would hold back the zera to allow for the isha to contribute first. What for? They should be zeichet to have zachar. So since they made the effort, Mala Leina Kosa, Torah regards it as their doing. As Katina says, I can do it, anybody can do it. I could make the effort so that all my offspring are zacharim. Amar Rava. Here's another tip. A person wants to accomplish that. Should interact twice, what she says, because the second time around, she's already in the mood and more likely to express herself first, which is likely to generate a zachar, at least from the second time. Now, in terms of timing, what's the most optimal time for conception? Isha will only become expectant only near the arrival of her period, where there's an increase in the hormonal presence and the anticipation of the arriving period. Shanam, as we find in the pasuk in Tehillim, where David HaMelech is describing his making, Hein ba'avon chilalti, I was formed ba'avon, in close proximity to the arrival of Dam, which is associated with refraining, right, with the Isra of NIDAH. Rabbi Yechim Amari says actually the most optimal time is Samach Tvila, right after the Tvila, day after or the following day, Shenemar V'Chet. At the time of cleansing, Chet is absence, right? The absence of Tumah. Yechamas, Nima, mother were warm, and that's when I would be formed. So these are the most optimal times. Taisus points out back on Daf Yud that although the Gemara says Ein Isha Mesaberes Ella, not to say that it can't happen otherwise, but these are most optimal opportunities. My mashma. So the pasuk relates to the time of his creation. My mashma, what do we find? That it relates to the time of Tvilah, the high chet, that the word of a chet, lishna de dechuyu, relates to cleansing. The chsev we find elsewhere, v'chidis habayis. This is by the purification of the home from its nega. U'metargemin, we translate, v'yadak yas beisa, he will cleanse, he will matar the house. So we see that chet, in this context, means to cleanse. Alternately, we have another source. The Melech turns to Hashem, cleanse me with for my sins with the ezev, like the grass used to apply the paraduma waters to cleanse one of tumah. When the sun arrives, brings along peace. Farshim explained because a man is more inclined to be, easily appeased in a time of discord, as opposed to a woman who's less intellectual, makes for a more difficult appeasement process. So the zachar denotes an increase of shalom, shenamar shilchu kar. Kar is a gift, a gesture of giving. Moishel eretz, so you give the gift to the ruler. Zachar, so the word zachar is like an acronym of Zeh, Kar, is like a gift, increase, who heralds an increase of peace. Likewise, in terms of livelihood, a Zacha arrives with his bank card. Bakik Rabbi brings along his loaf of bread. As denoted in the word Zachar. Zachar, Zekar, this has food, sustenance. We find that Kar relates to a meal. V'yichar kira, made for them a big festive meal. So he comes along with his parnasa, given to him by Hashem, but in a keva, she has to rely on others, on her father, while she's growing up in his house, or when she's married, her husband is the provider. And in fact, even if she earns money, while she's unmarried, right, while she's in her father's home, it goes to the father, the young girl, right, her Masi Yadayim goes to the father. And, when she's married, the Masi Yadayim goes to the husband. Because ultimately, he's the provider, he's the source of her livelihood as well. And the Nekeva, Eini Maklum, she brings nothing along with her. And that's denoted in the word Nekeva, like Nekia, Ba. She comes empty-handed, Ad Amar Mazayni, until she asks Hashem, Lo. She asks for Mazaynis. Until then, she doesn't get. And Marsha points out that even though, in terms of her mazel, in terms of her nature, she's dependent upon others, but not so if she davens. When you daven, you can change things radically. You can change your mazel. So she gets up and says, Hashem, please. She can be zeicha to earn her own channel of parnas. We find the hint in the pasuk to this phenomenon. We have the Lavan speaking to Yaakov Avinu, please stipulate your pay for me to give. Nakva scharcha, so the lashon nakva, lashon nekeva, she has to get up and ask and stipulate. Through tefillah, she can earn it. Shalo Talmidov. So the students of Rabbi Shimon, who is known throughout Shas to be Dorish Tama Dekra, he would expound on the reasons behind halachas. He would seek to discover the timing of various things. So his Talmidim took the opportunity and asked him some questions regarding our topic. Shalo Talmidov Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Why is it the Torah says, Amar Torah led us maybe a carbon? What's a new mother doing wrong? Why does she have to bring a carbon? Amalin, he says, look, there's a subtle deviance. Bishah shekaras leil, when she goes down to birth, keifetzes, she's always finished bas, and means that she expresses herself nishbas with a shvua. No more. No more with my husband. Too difficult. And of course, later on she regrets. Hence, she must bring a carbon for violating her own oath. Maskal Rav Yosef, I have a question. How is this aligned with the standard carbon addressing a false oath? First of all, a couple of things. First of all, you bring a carbon for being over on a shvua only if it's b'shaygig. Here it's b'mezid. She's doing it intentionally. Number two, you need an animal carbon, not a bird. She brings a bird. And number three, he says, why don't you just go to the local bezdin and regret, make a charota, taras nadarim? Why bother with that? Maskav Rav Yosef. If it's literally a violation of an oath, but mezidahi, here it's different. She's doing it intentionally. She's not deserving of a carbon. B'charota tali musa. Furthermore, just undo it by regretting it. Furthermore, carbon shvo by yisuye. She's bringing a carbon, an animal carbon. And the Vershim explained that what he meant to say is that it's not literally a violation of an oath. It isn't necessarily something which she actually expressed verbally. It's just a sensation, a feeling of sorts, and she's sort of transgressing that sort of internal commitment, which triggers a carbon obligation. And a bird would suffice, because even by the carbon shvua, if a person's unwealthy, brings a bird. So here as well, it's an obligation which is thrust on her husband. Right? She doesn't have her own. We spoke before, a woman is bereft of any of her own, independent livelihood. So a bird will do it. Next question they asked him. We find a disparity in terms of the tumah count post-birth. By the Zachar, it's merely 7 days. By the Nekeva, it's 14. Why? Could you please tell us the reason why Amra Torah Zachar l'shiva, Nekeva l'arba'asar? But a Zachar, the Metumah end at 7, and Nekeva needs 14. The answer is Zachar shakal smechem. By Zachar, all are celebrating. A Zachar will grow up and do, learn Torah, right? So he has a greater sort of role. So it triggers a greater celebration. Mischaretes l'shiva, so she gets over this sort of shvur that she made. After already 7 days, she's already regretting it. She says, okay, not so bad. So at that point, the Metuma conclude as well. So the Metuma sort of correspond to this mistaken attitude of the Isha, which dissipates at 7. By Nekeva, it takes a bit longer to get over it. But there's a lesser degree of celebration. Mischaret Labasa takes her 14 days to get over it, which coincides with the culmination of the conclusion of the Metum. The next question: why is the bris milah conducted on day 8? By the way, they bring the Medrash that the point was to have the baby experience a Shabbos, Kedushas HaShabbos, to get him into the mode to be ready for a bris milah. We find a similar thing by the newborn animal. You can't be makar of it as a korban until after 7 days, until the for the same reason the Medrash says, because it has to experience a Shabbos. But the question is still, why do you need 8 full days? As long as you go through a Shabbos, it doesn't have to be 8 full days. Even 7 days will get you through a Shabbos. So why specifically 8? So he says like this, very interesting, novel response. He says, how long is she tummy after the birth of a Zachar? For 7 days. The Torah wants to have the milah and the milah celebration that accompanies it take place after the parents are back together. We don't want everybody around them, all the guests, to be joyous and celebrating. But the parents who are now compelled to refrain because of the Metumah, to be in a saddened state of affairs, and therefore Torah waits until she completes the Metumah. Now they're back together. Now everybody's fully joyous and celebrating. Of course, this was in the time of the Chazal, when the Metumah completed at day 7. Okay, Tanya Hara Me'omer. Another question. Why is it that a NIDAH has to go through a 7-day stretch because of her tumah? Why can't it just be, let's say, a one-day tumah? Or no tumah at all? The answer is because he is very familiar with her. And too much can trigger lack of interest. Torah says take a break to refresh things. Let it be tumah for 7 days. This way, when they resume, it's accompanied by the initial excitement, just like way back upon their marriage. She should find favor in the eyes of her husband, as per when they got married. So to retain that freshness, you have to undergo this on-off cycle, which gives them the opportunity to develop a relationship other than this aspect, and refreshes things, keeps things on a high, as per way back when it all started. Interesting phenomenon we find. Big difference between the man and the woman. The man is looking for a shidduch. He's traveling, he's looking and seeking. The woman not so much. Why is that? Why is the man seeking the Isha? And we don't find that the Isha is so involved in seeking a man. He says very simply, because she's his lost item. Right? Chava was created from a part of Adam Rishon's goof. So of course he's looking for his aved, he's looking for his lost part. Mashal Adam Shabbat Aved, like a person who lost his item. Who's looking for who? The owner looking for his donkey, the donkey looking for the owner. Of course the owner is looking for his animal. Why is it that when they're together, the man is facing down, the woman the opposite, klapi ish towards the ish, corresponding to their source of creation? The man was created from the earth down below, she's facing the earth. The Isha was created from the man. Hence, her position. Zem makam shenivra, v'zu, and the woman makam shenivra. Another question. Why is it that we find this distinct difference in nature? A man and woman are created equal. Different distinct natures, and we find that a man is more easily appeased. But a woman is not so easily appeased, appeased. The answer is, once again, it's contingent upon the material that they were created from. The man, from where he was created, Rashi says, the Adama, the Afar, the soil, the Techayach, it's soft and pliable and more easygoing than a bone, which the Isha was created from. But the woman, she was created from the bones, which are, harder. One last question. Why is it so? The woman has a sweeter voice, but the man does not have koyle arif. The answer is, once again, each one where he is created from. He was created from the earth, which Rashi says when you bang it, it doesn't have much of a sound. As opposed to the woman, where she was created from. The bones which clang and emanate sound. Shenemar, as we find in the pasuk in Shir Shirim, that he praises the voice of the Isha. Okay, last. Anybody think that it's all one personality? It's one Ish v'Isha. It's all one and the same. No. Each one has its own distinct features, own distinct personality, and all corresponds to our respective origin. The point is to share resources, to team up in a holy alliance, to actualize our potential, realize our dreams, and arrive at our ultimate destination, completing our mission that Hashem had designed for us. Ish v'Isha shchile b'neim. So we have the various abodes where the Vlad resides during his pregnancy, the lower, the mid area, the upper area. We discussed the human being comprised of three contributors. We discussed the wonderment of the creation of a person. Hashem takes various components and fuses them together, leaving each component with its own distinctness, its own uniqueness, working together in unison in this miraculous entity called a human being. Hashem awaits and assists and orchestrates in the creation of a tzaddik. Spoke about the formula of being zeicha to zacharim. Spoke about the optimal time of ibur, the parnasa that a zachar brings, the tefillah of a nekeva, the reasons behind the korban, the reasons behind the differences in the time frames of the tumah of zachar and nekeva. We discussed the timing of the milah lishmoina, and the whole idea of tumas NIDAH and its objective. We discussed about the ish mechazer achar isha, the piyus, the ability to be mispayes, and the kikoylech orev amarich. Okay, all the best to you, and atzlach.